Okay, this is a comparison test of a puller come from Creative Products. It's an ATM brand puller. I'm going to be showing how it works and see what I think of it and compare it with an older puller. I've been asked to test this puller out for pulling blower wheels and fan blades off. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to show how this one works, but I'm also going to compare it to this one here. Now this one here is about 35 years old. At the time it was a great puller. It did have some problems over the years. You can see some of the threads are messed up because the bolts are kind of angled in there from some of the hard pulls. It does have these three hooks on it that you can use. They go in here, and you can use those as a three-way puller for something that you can't fit the hub inside there. So, but it's been useful. I've used it for many years. In order not to lose these clamps here, I've had to tape them on. We'll have the same problem with this one, but we'll get into that a little later. This one's a bit more complicated looking. This one here uses a threaded rod that when you snug it down, then you're supposed to smack it with a hammer, and that'll usually break it loose and then turn it the rest of the way down, and it should loosen it. And it does a fairly good job that way. This one's a little bit different. It doesn't use any threads. It has a hub. The hub can fit in there. It can also fit in there for the different size hubs. I don't know that I know of any that are that big, but I'll show you how this thing fits together in a little bit. These bolts here are to be run into the hub of the blower you're trying to pull. And there's two different threads on there for two different types. This is the only, well, it's not the only steel part, the bolts are steel, but this is a steel ram. Fits in there like that. And the idea with this is just to take when it comes down like that, then you hold on here and you hit it with a hammer. So both of these use impacts to remove the hub. And I'll compare these and see what I think is the best one and demonstrate pulling a couple of hubs. This one should be fairly easy because the shaft doesn't stick out any. Looks like that's going to work. Okay. Okay. I'm testing to see if this is the correct one. Yes, it is. We have started off with an issue. Okay, I've got this down to where it has to be down here. Now I'm trying to thread this in. It won't work. There's not enough clearance. This is too deep. I put this down as far as I can. I can't thread that in. It won't work. So here immediately we got a problem with this thing. The machining should have machined this down a little bit farther. This is a Lau blade, so it's a fairly standard one. I'm using the correct bolt. It fits in there fine, but I can't take this hub off with this puller. It doesn't work. Okay, this type puller, which should actually take a little longer to hook up because I have to adjust each one of these and try to get them towards the center. So that the ram will be centered. Now this one relies, you see it took actually quite a while to get that down there. This one relies on setting these set screws down good and tight. Now it's ready to screw down. This thing I don't think is going to even take a hit with a hammer, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be obnoxious. Yeah, it's just popping right off. Okay. That's it on that one. This puller would not work with this blower or this propeller wheel. Okay, I'm going to try another one and let's see what happens with this. It's kind of funny. I picked two random assemblies here. I can't take that off with this puller. What am I supposed to do? The hub's on the other side. So, what do? Well, there is a way to get it off, and let's see if it works. It's going to involve this puller here. Now, when you look close, you can see that's pretty rusty. I'm going to go ahead and sand it off and then put a little oil on it. They tell you with that new puller, and I'm sure they told him with the old one, that you need to oil those shafts and sand any rust off. Okay, now it's cleaned up and oiled. Now I'm going to put that puller on it and see if I can get this off. Okay, the puller's mounted on this thing, and I can snug this down. This one looks like it's coming off way easier than I'd expect. I didn't even have to hit it, but it is coming off with this type of puller. Okay, that's pretty much it. That puller did take it off. That wasn't a terribly tough one to get off. It was pretty easy. Okay, I'm doing indoor blowers now, and I'm going to give this thing a bit of a test. Most of these indoor blowers, because they operate inside, the blower just slides out. There's usually not a problem with it. The only time there's a problem, and when you really need a puller, is either if it has gotten rusted, which would be unusual, or if someone has tightened the set screw on the round of the shaft instead of the flat. Okay, I have set this up, tightened the set screw on the round, remove the set screw, and I'm going to put the tool on it, and let's see how well it does with this. Okay, we have the tool on, and I'm ready to give it a test. This should be a fairly tough test. If it passes it, it's doing pretty good. Anyway, let's see how this test works. Well, it did work. Had to oil on it a bit, but it worked. Okay, with the look up close, you can see the set screw was set on the round of the shaft. It actually performed fairly well. Most of the time you're not going to use a puller on an indoor blower anyway because they pop right off most of the time, except in a case like this, and it did perform pretty good. I had to oil it a few times, but that's pretty much normal. So it's effective for that. Okay, now I'm gonna go into some conclusions about what I think of the tool as compared to the older tool. One thing I did want to note, I did this in a couple of motors, and you can see this is the end bell that goes on there, that cover. Notice if you look close at that thing, you can see, well, look at the inside. You can actually see where the shaft has pooched this thing out. That's true in this motor too. Now, what that means pretty much is it's probably, yeah, it's taken out the it's taken out the bearings in the motor. It's turning now, but I'm not sure it's going to continue to work okay. So if you do have to pull one of these things off using this puller, it's probably going to damage the motor if it comes off real hard. If the motor's being replaced, who cares? But just something you should know. Okay, the next one, I'm going to go ahead and make some conclusions on what I found with these things and comparisons and what I think of the tool itself.